Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Andy. I head up the policy design community in government. We are a community of practitioners and we support people, policy designers in about 60 different local, central and devolved administrations across the UK at the moment. I'm a policymaker. I've been a civil servant for 20 years, worked in an educationalist, worked in frontline services with teachers and head teachers for many years, retrained as a policymaker, and then sidestepped into design a few years ago, and now very lucky to be supporting other policy designers. So I suppose what I'm going to tell you today is I'm going to give you some reasons why design is important for government, and this is very much the perspective of practitioner designers in government. This is the case that we are trying to make, and the space that we are trying to carve out for ourselves to do more of this work. Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 reasons. The first reason is public value, and certainly the way that I was taught to make policy many years ago was a kind of was basically a decision maker, often someone political would come up with a brilliant idea that would be crystallised by some policymakers, and then they would be given somebody to build. Then you'd kind of evaluate it and write a report afterwards. That's great, and that's often how it still happens, but that's quite a slow and linear way to find out whether your original idea actually works or not. So I suppose design, and this is what we advocate for this way of working, turns that on its head. And we say research, design, test, build. So you're doing your homework. You're making sure that your design ideas respond to the evidence base, and then you're iteratively testing it. And the very last thing you should be doing is building the public policy or service. You're doing that when you've got really high assurance that the thing that you say you're going to do is going to have the effect that you expect it to have. Perversely, officials often perceive experimental design as high risk or perhaps even dangerous talk in some cases. But in actual fact, it's completely the opposite. It's an exercise in controlled risk management through this sort of incremental reduction in uncertainty. And from a personal level, from the benefit for policymakers is it just makes them look awesome. Essentially, you're giving them the power to be able to deliver on their ideas. So this kind of this sort of design-led risk assurance model has already got a foothold in government, and you could go and look at Sir Michael Barber's thinking, which has already been put into action in the Treasury through their public value framework, and the delivery units through the kind of deliverology model. The second reason that we should be using design in government is that it helps people to make sense of the world. Government is increasingly facing complex or wicked problems. So these are things like COVID-19, climate change, in this country Brexit, and place-based issues. And officials can only really effectively address these big problems if we give them the capability for navigating complexity and reducing uncertainty. The National Office agree with this, National Audit Office agree with this, and they ask organisations to take a whole system approach to achieving government outcomes. So that gives people the opportunities to innovate and be really clear about how their work benefits the end user. But there is a big barrier to this, and so many of you will have read Blunders of Our Government, which is a book about policy failure in the UK, written by King and Crew, and this idea is still relevant today. My old boss, Jonathan Slater, is now a policy professor at KCL, and he still talks about this now. They talk about policymakers being disconnected and in two ways. Firstly, operational disconnect, and secondly, cultural disconnect. And what they mean by that is operational disconnect is not understanding the delivery environment in which your policy or service has to survive and thrive. And cultural disconnect, not understanding the people that are going to use your policy of service. So design practice is helpful because it provides us with a holistic, systematic way of tackling these issues, both at the macro level of systems and the micro level of people. Number 3, design provides governments a multidisciplinary nervous system. So it's really rare to meet senior government leaders who don't believe and advocate for multidisciplinary design. In fact, they think it's essential. If you go and have a look at the government's declaration of reform from last year, almost, the big right at the top, almost right at the top is multidisciplinary working. The Institute of Government say that the model for the generalist policy official is outdated and should be replaced by high-performing multidisciplinary teams. But in practice, this is really, really difficult because, from the perspective of your common or garden policymaker or official in government, all of these new ideas are constantly thrown at the labyrinthine and bewildering. They're constantly being given new terms like system thinking, user design, agile, experimentation. It's really difficult to make sense of those whilst you're doing, a big job of managing the country. What design does is it provides an umbrella framework or mental model to be able to understand the value and place of each one of these different ways about thinking of the world. It provides a mechanism for all professionals to be able to constructively collaborate. So it has a unique function in governance. It provides a lingua franca for everyone to work together. The fourth reason is productivity. I can assure you that if you go around and talk to design teams in government at the moment, there'll be very few of them that were having a conversation with their organisation about whether they should be investing in design. But we need to invert this line of thinking. Design improves productivity because you're much more likely to deliver the thing that you expect to deliver because you research design and test it. In fact, if you look at this as a business comparison, McKinsey Design Index shows that businesses that invest in design outperform their industry counterparts by 200%. And there's no reason to think that that doesn't apply to government as well. And that's because design practice guides officials focus on delivering outcomes, and it is a way for us to be able to join up policy and delivery. And the final reason, fifth reason, is about building public trust. So this is kind of broader, it's less tangible, but there is something here about social contract in society. Nesta and IDEO say that although citizens sometimes have declining trust in government, design thinking can put this relationship back in balance. What Works Wellbeing Centre say that personal agency and power, responsibility and control are part of wellbeing. The freedom to choose what we do in life is the second biggest driver of well-being. So, it's for us to be able to help work with people, to give them to allow them to feel control and agency over their lives and their communities, so they feel that they can make the difference. Design is very much at the centre of this story because designers are governance experts and services that respond to the need. So that's 5 reasons for you why design is important. increasing public value, making sense of the world, the multidisciplinary nervous system, increasing public sector productivity and building public trust.